Hello and welcome to LeaderTalk by Nasscom Insights. I'm Namita Jain, Director at Nasscom Insights, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. Since the launch of ChatGPT 3.5 in late November 2022, there's been overwhelming discussion about the technology's disruptive impact on software engineering and development. One McKinsey estimate suggests that of the 2 to 4 trillion possible value addition because of this technology in the next 4 to 5 years, almost 75% would come from software engineering domain. Today, we are going to explore what this means in the current context of the AI technology and its potential also to unlock the human plus AI-led era of engineering excellence. I'm joined by an expert technologist and business leader to help us navigate this shift. Mr. Radhakrishnan Rajagopalan, who popularly goes by the name Radha. Radha is the Chief Delivery and Technology Officer at Ascendion, where he oversees global delivery and their flagship AI-driven platform, AAVA. Ascendion was established in 2022 and specializes in AI-native software engineering solutions. Radha brings over 30 years of experience in scaling massive technology practices and boardroom-level growth strategies across companies, including Cognizant, Tiger Analytics, LTI Mindtree, and IBM. Radha, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Namita, thanks for having me here. Good morning to everyone.
Wonderful. Let's dive in right away, Radha. You've seen every major technology wave in the over 3 decades of corporate experience that you've been through. What are some of your reflections of those technology shifts when you compare them with what's currently happening with that of agentified, automated, AI-led future? What are your perspectives on this shift?
No, I mean, you're absolutely spot on, right? And I think the last 50 years of technology evolution, starting from the mainframe era and then the cloud shift towards the minis and client-server technologies, and we saw the web technologies coming in the early 2000s, and then the Mac stack, and then the digital engineering and wave of shift that we saw. AI is a different beat altogether, right? And I think each one of these transitions we saw allowed us some time. We could transition it gradually, progressively. Mainframe had probably 30, 40 years of some joined the mainframe era and probably retired in that era as well. And then with each progressive shift, you saw the technology landscape shifting very dynamically, rapidly, but still had time. But what we are seeing in AI, the abundant amount of opportunities and the technology explosion, right, coupled with the reorientation that the entire industry has to go through, is an unprecedented scale and speed, right? So that is undeniable. Change is here, change is real, and it is happening. This is truly transformative from the perspective of technology's impact and the way the business is shaping up, technology's impact on people who are imbibing the skills and building their careers. It's pretty exciting time for us to be here, right? And the art of possibilities with AI is becoming more and more real as we progress. Things that we would have hesitated to dive in the past, AI is now providing an opportunity to look at it slightly differently and say, there is a ray of hope. Things that we would have traditionally hesitated to dive, we are now in a position to experiment and take it forward. And that is a big shift, that I see in the both in the technology and the services industry landscape. We are good from that perspective.
Absolutely spot on, Radha. I think the speed and scale of shifts is unprecedented. And I think, if we just reflect back on how Ascendion was established at the time when this entire shift started happening in 2022, and ever since then, you've seen phenomenal growth. I think one of the key factors is the fact that you are able to embed AI into the very fabric of every solution that you try to deliver to your clients. How did this idea of being very AI native, emerge? And in the last 2 to 3 years, especially with Gen AI and Agentic AI coming in, how has it further benefited Ascendion's strategy approach to an AI native set of offerings?
Great question. Amita, I think we had a choice when we established ourselves in 2022, as you rightly said. There are potentially thousands of services companies across the board, with all sizes and scale, right? There are tier 1s and tier 2s. and even tier threes that have been rendering traditional services, we had a choice. Should we be one among them, or should we think differently? What are the choices that our clients have or prospects have? Where do they suffer? What is the one single pain point that they want to attack? Right? Gone are those days you go back and tell them that the transformative programs will have to necessarily take 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. Right? How can Ascendion simplify, accelerate, and start delivering value, at God's speed? And that was the thought process. And we found AI at that juncture, 2022, as you know, that the evolution of Gen AI had started. Traditional data sciences, machine learning, and traditional AI services to Gen AI coming into play. The playbook is getting rewritten, and we wanted to be the early mover. So we went all in from an AI perspective. We also understood, with traditional data sciences, machine learning is yielding results in model generation, solving specific problems from the perspective of business process flows, and so on and so forth. The broader question remains that can engineering in software engineering benefit out of that? Can we accelerate that? Do we need to necessarily take 3, 4, 5 years in the transformative, whether it is a legacy modernization as in brownfield or a greenfield application development? Do we need really that much amount of time? So that was a thought process. Then obviously we had to go back and rewire ourselves and say that how can we effectively use Gen AI? And that is when the engineering to the power of AI, as we call it, as came into fruition. We said, let's take a holistic look at it and see how Gen AI can be intertwined into our day-to-day task of software engineering, right? From end-to-end SDLC, how do we bring that? Be it be scaled agile or agile methodologies or product development, new product development, how do we, bring all of those aspects and accelerate that? So that was a thought process. And I think very early on, we latched onto it. At the time when Gen AI itself was going through the changes and releases after releases started happening, we were completely, plugged into this. And that's what made it very special. So I think today it's fair to say that we are probably a born Gen AI or AI company in that spirit.
Very interesting. I think you put it out very nicely, engineering to the power of AI. And would like to now bring in one very key offering that you have, because I think that kind of, explains this whole shift very well, which is your flagship platform, AAVA. So it's an agentic AI-led platform. What we've also seen, Radha, in the last couple of years is this, rush in the market with a lot of solutions, right from the first one, the GitHub Copilot, to cursors and Witserves of the world, to now model makers actually embedding those capabilities within the model itself, OpenAI's latest codex and so on. So how, in this kind of a market that is crowding very quickly, how should enterprises view AAVA, and what are some of the differentiating factors or characteristics of solutions that are there, and that will be able to scale?
Yeah, again, great question. And there is a plethora of, coding platforms on the Gen AI stuff that is happening now, right? And you've got, Cursor, Windsurf, Copilot, and both Anthropy, and, OpenAI have come up with their own development platforms and so on and so forth. From the perspective of AAVA, I'll probably split it in two things. One is the core platform itself. What does it entail and why is it so different? And the services that go around AAVA, right? 3 to 4 years of engaging with clients and harvesting that knowledge in terms of what works, what doesn't work, how to approach. That's a knowledge that provides a lot of context in engineering, to Gen AI or AI powered systems, right? So both are important from that perspective. Unlike the coding platforms are great from a vibe coding perspective, your ability to solve programming problems then and there, but the issue is larger. If you're truly wanting to do a mega scale transformative projects, right? For example, what you may have, and you know that, Namita, right? It's not uncommon in an industry that many clients have got 30, 40 years of legacy code. I'm just thinking of legacy modernization, let alone the, greenfield projects. I'm just talking about, some of the financial services, banking applications are built 30 years, 40 years back in COBOL and ALGOL, are simply stuck there because the inertia is very high. They don't know what risk that they are going to be imbibing because the guys who build those programs are no longer existent. There is no documentation available. The business logic is somewhere buried in the code, right? And I think orchestrating that is not something that a coding platform can solve, right? You need to go much beyond that. That's where AVA comes into play, right? Your ability to orchestrate the entire life cycle, ability to reverse engineer, right? Forward engineer the code base. That's what makes it very, very special, right? And it's not just that. Even in greenfield project, you need an entire canvas of SDLC, not just a coding platform. Coding platform is just part of it, right? How do I bring business and IT together and ideate? How do I create a storyline for my problem? How do I convert that into an epic? How do I convert that into multiple story points and feed it into a Jira or ADO for agile program management? Right? How do I generate test cases for that? How do I put that back into my DevOps and CI/CD all the way see through that to production? So AWA is that platform that orchestrates the entire life cycle end to end. It's not just a coding platform, right? And that's a specialty. So and add to this your entire context management, right? The last 3-4 years of us working very closely with the clients, there's a lot of do's and don'ts. How do you get the best out of these LLMs that are powering some of these aspects behind the scenes? How do we get the best out of it? That context and knowledge base is inside AWA, and that is why it is an intelligent platform. And plus, as I said, Ascendion is fundamentally an AI company. So the resources that are using AWA are trained pair of hands with artificial intelligence at the core of their skill. So that makes a big difference as well. So that's services and the AWA platform put together, which we see that as a strong winning combination.
Wonderful. Wonderful to know that bit of detail about AVA. And also the last part that you mentioned, which is the role of experts here. I think I want us to talk a little bit about that next, which is this whole idea that the more these AI co-pilots get autonomous, especially with agentification, the less of a human role there will be. And there's an open debate, it's almost like the world is divided between wanting to go autonomous versus wanting to really optimize the human in the loop, which is the human plus AI. And this divide is like up there and visible every day in the conversation. So what are your perspectives on how should enterprises think about this? What is really the future of human plus AI when it comes to using such AI-led engineering tools? What have you seen and where do you see this trend going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we call it as carbon plus silicon. Now you cannot take the carbon out, right? So it is still a very, very important, essential part of how we deal with certain things. No environment, no two environments are alike in a corporate scenario. No two customers have the problem statement can be similar, but then the operating environments are completely different. Their organization structures, their infrastructure, and how they've gone about building their businesses, their cultural aspects, all of that are different. So from that perspective, even to create those autonomous agents, you need those carbons that are imparting their skills and knowledge and fine tune them as to how they need to be operating. So from that perspective, they're inseparable. That human in the loop is an important aspect of how we deal with things. There are areas where autonomous is a reality. There are areas where if I have to kind of deconstruct and say that architecture, governance, design, they are still human oriented, right? Agents can read them, agents can understand them. It's fantastic to have the agents produce their outputs. But look at it from this perspective. Today, if you have to architect certain things, there is a complete technical footprint of an architecture that is easier said than done. Architecture reflects on the organization's culture as well, right? How much to decentralize, how much to centralize, right? From a governance perspective, from an architecture perspective, all of that has got a human insight required. And it is very important to understand that there are areas where there is a high degree of human influence is required. These are decision making that needs to happen through humans. That's number one. Number two, from moving from coding to programming, right? That's a big shift that we see, right? With agents developing code, what is more important for us to understand is that how much and what degree of influence and humans have in terms of getting the quality or good on the code, right? So from that perspective, both it's not a year back, Namita, I would have heard people talking about prompt engineering all the way, right? And today it is context plus prompt engineering. Are you context aware, right? And knowing the context is for the operating environment. Are you in this cloud environment or that cloud environment? What are the systems that you use, the data flows, and so on and so forth? People should be aware of the context. That's number one. Number two, and then comes the prompt engineering. Are you framing it rightly to get the best output? Right? So, which means that the humans that are going to be using these systems to build the code out of it, whether it is autonomous, discrete, or human in the loop, with respect to the guardrails and so on and so forth, you cannot take the humans out of the loop from that perspective. So, the skill definition and orientation as we go forward is going to change, right? It's not about just learning Python or C++ or C# or .NET. Do you know how to provide the context to these agents that are powering these systems? Do you know how to frame, what is expected out of the system, right? It's context plus prompt engineering and plus your Python code understanding, your language skills, and so on and so forth. So all of that coming together, that is why it is still intertwined, right? The end state of what you deploy in the target could be autonomous. To engineer the autonomous systems, I think you need all of us to work together.
Got it. Got it. Wonderful thinking. And I think I'm going to keep the whole carbon plus silicon with me. Very, very interesting way of putting it. And that actually, brings me to a little bit more of a, human side of our discussion. We've discussed technology, but you've seen as a core technologist, as a business transformation leader, you've kind of nurtured a diverse workforce across your organizations, across your career, varying levels of experience across technology or domain, business, etc. The talent pool that is currently, training itself in colleges and all, and is going to be the incoming pool for the technology industry and other industries as well. What would your advice be in this era of AI? AI is here to stay. It's going to disrupt the way we work, the way we work, do our own stuff, the way we actually create solutions for clients. It's going to change all of it. And it's better to equip ourselves for it. What would be your advice to this incoming talent pool? How should they think about a successful career in this AI first future?
Yeah, one simple answer, I'll probably elaborate after that. And we call it as AIQ, artificial intelligence courses, just increase it. And that's the only way out, right? The applicability of AI across the systems that we see is just phenomenal and so good. I think the existing workforce that are skilled in the yesteryear technologies and the current technologies and the incoming workforce, they both have to significantly increase and improve their AIQ. In fact, when we hire, look for talent in the market, we can't continuously search for that. Look, what is your AIQ, right? One is, do you believe? Are you an naysayer? And if you are not an naysayer, if you believe, what is your AIQ, right? What is your update? Are you experimenting it yourself in the first place, right? How AI aware are you in the first? That makes a big difference from our perspective. And we strongly believe that it should be wired into your DNA, right? It cannot be an afterthought, right? So it has to be wired into your DNA. And Indian talent has always been very good, right? The shift that I see is, as I said, the coding mentality to the programming and problem-solving mentality. And AI is providing that opportunity also in a way, right? You think differently, you learn to work with agents, you learn to work with the AI subsystems. So which means that the skill alignment has to be more in that line, right? How much of AI quotient that you bring to the front, are you continuously equipping yourself and learning? And I think we continue to invest, and there's not a single day that goes by that we don't announce a training program or the other within the Ascendion ecosystem. It goes about it happens continuously. Not just, since you spoke about talent specifically, I'll tell you, one is the core talent, which is the engineers who are coming out of the academic institutions, existing practice engineers. That's one set of it. But I'll also tell you the skill goes beyond the engineering. Right? The skill is also to be seen in program and project management. Yesterday, project and program managements are no longer good. Imagine this, if an agent and human both are working together, how do you measure productivity, right? In the past, you could come back and say that I've got this skill base, I've got this span of control, right? I've got this pyramid mix, I've got this skewed talent at this level. So you have your operating metric ready and you could apply and say that this is a productivity overall. Now with agents lifting bulk of your work, agents delivering code, a handwritten code, which takes probably about 2.5, 3 days. The agent just spits out this code in, a minute, right? And then there is a human in the loop. So the whole idea of this program management, governing by metrics, right? What is the productivity? What is the quality of the code that comes out? Everything suddenly changes. So skill is not just engineering here. It applies across the levels. It applies to me as a chief delivery and technology officer. It applies to one of my program managers that's managing a large-scale transformative program, and it is engineering. So it is the talent upskill that needs to be there across all levels, existing plus upcoming workforce. So my thing is, and India is abundant. I mean, we know that India's, we build AAVA in India. We proudly say we build in India for the world, right? So I think that in my mind, there is no question, right? There is abundant talent. It's just a reorientation. Improve your AIQ. That's the only way out, and that's across the board. And that's how simple it is.
Very interesting thoughts there, Radha. And I think agree that, it's about now building our AIQ, which is probably going to test all kinds of things, our IQ and EQ, all put together in the AI era. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing your insights. I'm going to take my takeaways are very clear here, that we are in the era of engineering to the power of AI. Very, very important to understand the speed at which things are evolving, changing the way we've always done work. And that it's also very important to remember that there is a lot of importance that needs to be given to retaining knowledge that we've built in manual ways, so that we build AI in the right way for future use. And the fact that workforce overall across the board, not just the freshers who are coming in, but all of us need to develop our AIQ. Wonderful takeaways from this conversation, Radha. To our audience, I would like to say thank you for joining us on this episode of Nasscom Insights LeaderTalk. Once again, a very big thank you to our leader today, Mr. Radhakrishnan Rajagopalan. If you found this discussion on future of AI-led software engineering very valuable, make sure that you follow Nasscom Insights on our social media handles on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. That's where you will find a lot more discussion about this particular talk. We have a wealth of other research-backed perspectives and leadership conversations coming your way soon. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.